Okay, well, everybody, I just recorded this whole thing and was not recording. So that's just lovely. I'm actually, and I even said at the very beginning, I was like, this was one of those days where I was like, I'm just not going to do it tonight. I'm just going to double up tomorrow. I'm actually feeling a little bit better. I'm just tired. I've slept and or napped like on and off all day. And then I had to really push through some regular work that had to be done by tomorrow morning because I haven't really been doing anything this week or haven't just been feeling right. And so it was really one of those days where I was like, oh, I'm just going to skip. They'll understand. I will do it tomorrow. I'll double up tomorrow and it's going to be fine. But I'm like, no, I'm going to persevere. I'll just make it shorter. I'll just get in there and get it done. I'll feel better if I do. And then I just did the whole thing and it wasn't recording. So we're gonna do this again and a little bit backwards. You can see we are looking at our mountain and road card, our path card. I have these up here because there are a couple decks that I have that have road instead of path, and I don't like that. I get it. I can use it. I can, there is one road that you need to get on, and you've got to make the choice of that road and get on it. I can still read with it, but I don't prefer it. Now on this one, you can actually see where the road goes this way. So this, you've had to make a choice to get on here. So I do like that little teeny hint there, but no, I want to see this. This is my Isabel Lenormand that Annika or Quilfin on YouTube made for me, hand drew for me, and this is the perfect paths card. A, because she drew it for me, and B, because I have a clear choice so that I can say, okay, here are my, choice comes up in a grand tableau. Here are these aren't great choices. But I can actually look to where this road is going, look to where this road is going, and look down here to where it's coming from. Which you can't see, but it's down here. So you can actually use the directionality in the card. So that's how I very much prefer my paths to be, a path, because this is an important card for me. This is something I pay close attention to when it comes up, and when it comes up in a grand tableau, when I'm doing a grand tableau, I'm always looking to the paths card as well as the paths house, because that's a major decision that needs to be made, and it's important to give the person I'm reading for a heads up on that. So this is a really important card for me. See, I'm all thrown off as to what, because I feel like I've already talked about everything, but we need to do it again. So in your little handout, if you're new, we have the mountain card, and it's an obstacle, a blockage, or a challenge. I mean, it's pretty obvious. We have a challenge here. It is a big mountain that's in the way, but it's not insurmountable. We can climb the mountain. We can go around the mountain. There's ways to get through it. I actually quite like mountain cards like this, where one side looks a little bit easier to get around than the other. Some have like a clip on that side you can clearly see you can get around. Like the Mystical Lenormand, I think, actually has a path. So I like that because you can say, okay, maybe this card over here is giving me some idea. This might be the card that's blocked, and this might be a way that's going to help me around the situation. Remember directionality in certain cards you can pay attention to. So it's not insurmountable. It's not an ending or a cutting off or a complete block. It is just a challenge and a blockage, and it's going to take a while to deal with it. Whereas the road, or the paths as I prefer, lets us clearly know there is a choice, there is a crossroads, there is a decision, and it's generally about now. It's generally not something off in the future, unless you're doing a big spread and it's in the section of, you're reading it for past, present, and future, and it's over in the future, depending on how you're doing the situation. But generally it's something you need to start paying attention to now, and thinking about your choices and thinking about which way they're going to go. Very often, again, I pay a lot of attention to this, and when the whole thing is done, even with a grand tableau, sometimes I will then go in and pull specifically for the paths to get some more information that's going to be helpful, because it's a decision that's coming and I want to give them as much information as I can get for them. So the path card for me is quite an important card. My question for today, I thought was, I'm going to show you a tip too, but my question for today, I thought was quite poorly done. It doesn't really make sense. I had to think about it, but it's about that idea of when you're going through something and you're kind of going up this mountain and it's difficult, there comes that point in which you've either got to keep going forward and get to that top moment of, yay, or it's time to say, you know what, this just isn't really for me. And my question was, is there a deck or a system or something in which, that has been the example, and how did it work out for you? Very poorly worded. I haven't watched any videos yet for Lenormarch today, and probably won't until tomorrow, but I'm sure there are going to be people saying, what? Because I even looked at it and was like, what? For me, that would be actually Lenormand, and I've said this before, so I won't belabor the point, but when I first got Lenormand, it was really more for my playing card collection, and I did go ahead and lay a spread out, and I instantly was like, no, this is not tarot, this is not for me, it's not saying anything to me, no, and just literally packed it up, put it in with my playing card collection, which again, it was a Piatnik, it was under $10, I really got it more for my collection, and so it was no skin off my nose. And then about a week later, it was kind of niggling at the back of my brain, and about a week later, I had kind of read some things online about how you might approach it, and it started to say, okay, maybe I better push through this obstacle, right? Not just give up on it, but push through. And so I got them out again and did some more readings, and it clicked. And then it was like, I got to that top of the mountain moment where it was like I could see this clouds parted, and the sun shone down, and choirs of angels sang, and I'm like, out came my inner German heritage and said, we know this, we understand, we get this. And I was love after that forever, ever after. So it was worth trying it again and again and kind of pushing through it, because then once it clicked, it was just like, yeah, I love it. And I now do it nearly as much as I do any other oracle system. So I adore Lenormand. So I'm glad that I pushed through. Sometimes there are decks like, say, the Tarot Vampires, which I got. Loved the book by Ian and Daniels. Loved the book. I still have the app with the book in it. Learned a lot from the book. Learned a lot from going through the cards. I tried to use that deck. I used it. I did readings with it. I tried to click with the deck, and it was just at some point I was like, you know what, this is not going to work, and I passed it on, and that's okay. So, there's always those crossroad moments, even with our decks and with trying a new system, where you kind of either push forward and get to that mountaintop and say, this is great, or you kind of hit that point where you say, you know what, we don't have to like everything, and this is just not something for me. It was a bad question. I don't know what I was thinking, but there were a lot of questions to make. So I guess a little bit of a fail question is okay. So there we have that. Now, my little tip for today, and it's a little tip because, again, I'm just trying to actually accomplish this video, and I'll be thrilled. Let me back it up a little bit. My little tip for the day is that this is my Isabel Lenormand, and I just think I got them whopper-jawed, but I adore this deck. It stays on my reading table. The tip for the day is, so when you're doing a pull, where you're searching for the significator, which for me is anything under a grand tableau, I'm generally looking at the significator. That's just how I pull things. So it's either going to be a 5 card with 2 on either side, or 7 card, 3 on either side, or it's going to be a 9 card where I do it in a 9 card. I don't usually pull 9 cards in a row. It's just not how I do them. But a lot of people do and love that. So what you do is, let's say we have a question that I often get with Lenormand is, I've been doing this regular business, it's paying my bills, but it's not what I want to be doing. I really want to shift over to a business that I love. I want to start a business. I have this side business, but I want to make it into my main business. This question comes up a lot because a lot of people, are doing the jobs that pay the bills, but they're, starting to get a little antsy and say, I don't want to do this forever. I know I'm not supposed to really be rifling and shuffling that, but I still do a little bit. I try to be careful though. Anyways, that question comes up a lot. So for me, the significator for that would be the moon card. It's what works for me. There we have the anchor. That's a regular job. So I'm going to look to the moon. Look to the moon, and it's a beautiful moon. Thank you, Miss Quilfin. And then let's say I'm going to pull the 2 cards before and after it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set the cards. Don't mess them up. Keep them in their right order. And I'm going to go ahead and do my reading. And I'm going to say, okay, you know, something is eating away at your commitment, probably to this current job. But that's more than likely because we're talking about the actual heart job, and something is keeping them and eating away at that, making that plunge that really says, you know what, I'm going to commit to shifting my job over to this new job that I want to be doing. This is my heart job, and this is something that I want to make enough money to make a living, but I want to do it with something that is actually feeding my soul and not draining me dry. And so but there's something that's stopping this person from really committing to that, from going all in, from really starting to make steps towards that. And so, you know, they need to identify this and move kind of past that if they want to, because look what we have in the future. We have happiness, we have joy, we have invitation to, you know, good things coming, and we have the fish card for money. So it would be good money. It's going to make them money in the future. It's going to be able to support them in the future. Things are looking well. It could also be abundance, joy, abundant good things and happiness. Like the future looks good, but right now they're not making that commitment to move forward. So you go ahead and let's say you do your reading, and what you can then do is take your top 2 cards as a something that could help you with this circumstance, and the bottom 2 cards, which would be an underlying issue that may be contributing, let's say, to them not making this full commitment. And so you're taking from the top and taking from the bottom, and you can do different, you know, whatever that means to you, as above so below, is kind of how I always think, you know, in the mind and in the gut, kind of subconscious. There's different ways you can use that, something to help you, something that's hindering you, however you want to do that. I do this with tarot as well. I often take the very bottom tarot card as a message, like a deep down message. Sometimes because I split when I do tarot, so sometimes I will take this card that's under here, under the split, that will tell me something. Sometimes I will take the bottom and the top as a, let's say, something from deep down below, and something again from above, a message from above instead of an oracle card, and I'll put those to the side. So doing things like that, I think, is a great practice and a great way to get some other insight. But you can also do this with Lenormand. I generally, when I do this, I read first, and I just set the cards aside as they are so they're not messed up. And then once I do my regular reading, I'll come in and I'll pull those 2 cards for extra information. So, you know, some of the things that might help them to move forward is to remind themselves what a grind their job is. So we have disagreements, we have repetition, it's killing their soul, it's that boredom, I hate my job. You know, reminding themselves is how much they hate the bill paying job might, you know, help them with this in order to move forward to the paying job that they're going to, or their heart job that they're actually going to enjoy and be enthusiastic again. Below, going on underneath, we do have this idea. We have an obstacle, right? But we have the fox. So something isn't quite right, and there's an obstacle there. But this would also indicate to me personally, again, this is my personal reading of fox, experiential, is that this would say, okay, there's some obstacles, something's eating away at it. You probably need to talk to somebody who knows about the field that you're going into, that knows the situation, that can really help you. Whenever the fox comes up in this type of situation, I'm generally going to say, get some advice, get some good advice. I don't mean your best friend that's going to say, oh yeah, go for it, everything's great, you know, not your cheerleader friend, but like get some advice from whatever is a business person that's going to understand the situation, understand what you're going into, understand good money decisions, good financial decisions, and really sit down and talk to them so that you can iron out the obstacles, and that's going to alleviate some of the what's stopping you from committing to this particular job. So see, that's how you would do it. You again, just find your significator just as you normally would. So, you know, just randomly, if, okay, here's the man, and I've done this reading about them, pull the cards, I'm going to set the cards down, I'm going to go ahead and do the reading just as I would, and then after I'm done, I'm going to pull the top two to give us that information, and the bottom two. Now, I've seen some people say, I want to say with, Caitlin Matthews' book probably is the only, I don't really have a lot of Lenormand books, but I've also seen it on websites and stuff. I try to give attribution where it belongs, but sometimes I've seen it from multiple sources, or it's just kind of common knowledge. But I know I've seen this in at least one of Caitlin Matthews' books, although I believe she just chooses one card above. I don't ever choose one card with Lenormand for anything. It's always going to be two, and so I do the 2 and 2. But you could just do 1 and 1. But again, I don't personally recommend that because Lenormand isn't meant to be read as one card. So I do like this. So there you go. That's a little tip of way that you can get some more information out of your reading. But I do recommend that you read it straight up first. Don't pull those cards until you've kind of done that, and then see how those work in and answer questions that might come up as you're doing the reading. So I hope that that was helpful, and I do appreciate your patience with my whopper-jawed day here, but I can see I have my green St. Patrick's Day cloth here. So happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you Irish people, or Irish transplants, or wannabe Irish people, just because it's St. Patrick's Day. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. I know up here in the north, St. Patrick's Day is going from tonight all the way through the end of the weekend. So I will not be going out and celebrating it because it gets a little bit crazy. People start drinking from very early on until until the weekend's over. So I'll be staying home and out of that mess. But so if you guys are celebrating it, have fun, be safe. All of Irish culture is not about getting drunk. Find new ways to celebrate St. Patrick's Day and have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.